Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a philosophical investigation, a real whodunit. But our subject isn't some shady character in a trench coat. Nope. It's something you've probably seen 100 times today. A simple table. Now, I know what you're thinking. A table. But trust me, hiding just beneath its ordinary surface is one of the biggest questions in all of philosophy. How can we be absolutely sure about, well, anything? So let's crack this case wide open.
We're going to kick things off with the exact same question that the philosopher Bertrand Russell asked. Is there anything out there, any piece of knowledge, that is so rock-solid certain that no reasonable person could possibly doubt it? You probably immediately think, yeah, of course, the table right in front of me. I can see it, I can touch it, case closed. But you know what? The moment we put that simple table under the philosophical microscope, that certainty starts to get real shaky real fast.
So let's really zero in on this thing, the table. It seems so straightforward, right? It's brown, it's rectangular, it feels smooth and hard. It's just there. But what if I told you that pretty much everything you think you know for certain about this table is, when you look just a little closer, a massive contradiction?
And that brings us to a classic showdown in philosophy: appearance versus reality. It's the battle between what things seem to be and what they actually are. Because the second we try to get really precise about what our table is, our comfortable common sense view of the world just starts to fall apart.
Okay, let's really break this down. You say the table is one solid color, brown, but look again. See those parts where the light hits it? They look bright, almost white. And if you move your head, those bright spots move with you. And what about the shape? We say it's a rectangle, but from almost any angle you look at it from, it doesn't look like a rectangle at all. It looks like it has two sharp angles and two wide angles. Even its texture. You say it's smooth, but under a microscope, it's a rugged landscape of tiny hills and valleys. The appearance is constantly shifting.
Russell just nails it with this quote. There's no single color that we can point to and say, aha, that is the one true color of the table. What we see depends on the lighting, where we're standing, even on our own eyes. So, to be fair, we have to admit that the real table, whatever that is, doesn't seem to have any one specific color that we can actually perceive.
So this is the first major plot twist in our little mystery. Our senses, the star witnesses we were counting on, they aren't telling us the truth about the table itself. They're only giving us information about how the table appears. So, what are these appearances? What is this evidence our senses are actually collecting?
To figure this out, philosophers came up with a special term for this raw data our senses are feeding us. You can think of it like the forensic evidence gathered at a crime scene.
And that term is sense data. Sense data are not the table. They are the individual colors, shapes, and textures we are immediately aware of. That patch of brown you see, that's a sense data. The feeling of hardness when you touch it, that's a sense data. These are the only things we are directly in contact with. And this is the absolute key to the whole puzzle. We are never, ever directly aware of the real physical table. We are only aware of the sense data. From those clues, we infer that there must be a real object out there, the table, that is causing all these sensations. The sense data are just signs, pointing to some hidden reality we never actually get to see.
And this, my friends, is where the mystery goes from interesting to truly mind-bending. Because if the real table isn't what we see or touch, then what in the world is it? It's time to bring in our suspects for a lineup.
Once we ditch common sense, the possibilities get pretty wild. A physicist might tell you the table is really just a huge swarm of electrons buzzing around in mostly empty space. A philosopher like Leibniz, he might suggest it's actually a community of souls. And then you have Bishop Berkeley, who argued it's nothing more than an idea in the mind of God. And with all these strange ideas on the table, a new, darker thought creeps in. What if there's no table there at all?
I mean, just take Berkeley's theory. His whole thing was to be is to be perceived. So does the table just pop out of existence the moment you leave the room and stop looking at it? Berkeley said no, of course not, because it continues to exist as an idea inside the mind of God, who is always perceiving everything. It's a wild concept for sure, but it just goes to show you how far we've drifted from our simple everyday table. All right, so faced with this lineup of bizarre suspects, we need to step back and ask an even deeper question. It's not just what the table is, it's how we can claim to know anything about it in the first place. And to do that, we need to understand the two fundamental tools of knowledge.
So here's our detective's toolkit. On one side, you have knowledge by acquaintance. This is direct awareness. You are acquainted with the sense data from the table. That brown color, that smooth feeling, there's no guessing involved. But on the other side, you have knowledge by description. This is indirect knowledge. We only know the table itself as the physical thing that is causing all these sense data. And this distinction, it's everything. We have no direct line to the real physical table. Our knowledge of it is a theory, a description that we've built using the only clues we have, the sense data that we are directly acquainted with. This is how our minds reach out and know about a world beyond our immediate sensations.
So if we can't know the table directly, and we're not even sure what it's made of, why are we also completely convinced that it's really there? Well, we've reached the final part of our investigation. It's time for the verdict.
Let's just ask the big one, the ultimate skeptical question. Can we actually prove with 100% logical certainty that the table isn't just something we're making up? That this whole world isn't just one incredibly long and detailed dream?
And the honest-to-goodness philosophical answer is nope. We can't. There's no logical flaw, no contradiction in the idea that your entire life is a dream. We can't strictly prove it's false. But, and this is a huge but, that doesn't mean it's the most reasonable conclusion to draw.
And here's why. This is the case for common sense. Russell gives this great example of a cat. Imagine you see your cat napping in one corner of the room. You look away for a minute, and then you see it in another corner. Now, what's the simplest explanation? That it's a real cat that just walked across the room when you weren't looking, right? The other option, that the cat ceased to exist and then just popped back into being somewhere else, is way more complicated. Our belief in real independent objects is just the most rational, most straightforward way to make sense of the predictable patterns in our experience.
So even though we can't prove it beyond all shadow of a doubt, the principle of simplicity, Occam's razor, it basically pushes us to accept the natural view. The idea that there really are things out there besides just us and our sensations is the theory that best explains all the evidence.
And so, here it is, the verdict in the case of the mysterious table. Our belief that it really exists independent of us isn't something we can prove like a math problem. At its very core, it's an instinctive belief, a kind of leap of faith. But it's not a blind leap. It's a well-justified, rational leap that makes sense of our entire world. And what this whole investigation really shows is just how wild the foundations of our knowledge really are. It's not just about furniture. Think about it. Our entire grasp on reality, from the atoms we can't see to the vastness of space, it all relies on this same process of inference. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If our rock-solid certainty about a simple table turns out to be a well-reasoned leap of faith, what other things that we feel absolutely certain about are built on the exact same foundation?